Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Untitled Reviews. This being a show where I talk about dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Season 1, Episode 9 of Beef. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So this is the penultimate episode, whether it's the penultimate episode or just the season, or whether it's the penultimate episode of the series. We'll talk about that a little bit more in the series finale, but at the very least, this is a wild episode. This is probably the wildest things have gotten. This was crazy. And I think it's so interesting, once again, the back and forth of, because I thought like, okay, Amy was going to get back at Danny because of the June thing. The whole getting Isaac released thing, that had nothing to do with the June thing. I thought maybe she was just doing that on her own regardless. But no, she did that irregardless of everything. She's coming clean to everybody. The neighbors, George, Jordan, about everything she did. And she doesn't want to hide and lie about anything anymore. So she's coming clean about everything, her involvement in everything. So Isaac gets released, which works out for him because he's like, yo, the Filipinos in there about to castrate me. But he still has to deal with that even outside of prison. So that's why he's in such a position to get the money, because he tries to come after Danny with the rice cooker situation, which I completely and utterly forgot that money was being stashed in there, that whole situation. So that's not even about the loan stuff that they set up. It's specifically the money that Isaac had stashed away, which was connected to the loan stuff regardless too, wasn't it? I don't remember, but I forgot about the whole hiding money in the rice cooker situation. So Danny shows up at him and Paul's place. Well, Paul actually has his own place, but he shows up at the apartment. He's got June. Obviously, Paul knows exactly who that is. Like, you took her kid? He's like, I don't know, man. She just climbed in my car. I guess she thought it'd be fun or whatever to climb into Danny's cars, because she thought, she was thinking that, oh, it's all fine, it's all fun. And it's like, dude, I knocked him out. I'm going to have an assault charge. I got to run. I got to go to Mexico. Call up Amy. Let her know that her kid's okay. Bobby and Michael come over. They're not alone. They've got Isaac with them. Isaac is beating up Danny, and now it's like, oh, now it all comes out about Danny taking his money. Then June's there, and it's like, oh yeah, this is the daughter of the person that Paul is dating, and it's like, wait, Isaac's like, I haven't been going that long, and then immediately the Amber Alert hits, and it's like, oh boy, Michael and Isaac immediately figured it out. Bobby's like, yo, how you turn off a Amber Alert? Michael's like, he'll figure it out in a second, and then Bobby's like, oh, I see what time it is. It's like, dude. Then you have Isaac calling up Amy. Hey, your daughter's okay. It's fine. Oh, okay, good. Actually, no, it's not. Give us 500 grand. Give me 500 grand or your daughter's dead. He needs the money to, kind of disappear. But I mean, all the charges against him were dropped, so it's all Gucci. But the fact of the matter is, because of Amy, but the fact is he needs the money to pay off the Filipinos so they don't come after him. So he's strapped for the cash, especially considering Danny's already spent all of it, and it literally went up in flames last episode because of him, because of the wrong wiring he put into the house. So just a confluence of just everything going wrong, and it's just built up until we got to where we are, and ultimately where it leads us in the series finale. But we'll get to that at the end of the review. But it is just sad and messed up that things have kind of turned out this way. It's actually interesting. Jordan actually handled the whole thing about Amy coming clean a lot better than you would think she would. But I think it's also like she's so rich, and so she's super laissez-faire about all that stuff. So I love that I think for her, she's kind of like, well, the fact is you kind of got that mentality of doing whatever you need to do whatever it takes to cover your ass for it. And obviously, she's trying to get the chair back from Jordan. It's like, I'm willing to pay anything. But it's like, do you think I want money? I've got more money than God. Like, I'm fine with money. And then Naomi's over there trying to help out and stuff, because she even confessed to Naomi. Amy did. But I love that Naomi's standing there and Jordan's like, could you give us a second? And she's, oh yeah, sure. I got emails. I'm like, dude, you're her fiance now, and she's still choosing Amy over you. How effed up is that? Because I was like, because all she ever wanted was Jordan's attention, but Jordan never gave her attention. In fact, that's always why she was so pissy towards Amy. That's why she was so eager to look for Amy's downfall, because she wanted Amy to be soured in Jordan's eyes. And I bet you she was happy when Amy was willing to confess that. It means you won't see her the same way. Amy confessed everything, but Jordan still likes Amy more than she does Naomi. It's like, you literally went through the trouble of taking her from your brother, which is super jacked up, because it's treating Naomi like she's a possession, but Jordan's jacked up and she kind of sees everything as a possession. I mean, her and Amy had this interesting conversation where Naomi, no, God, I keep bouncing between so many names. Sorry. Jordan's basically got the philosophy, and it's kind of something that Amy had brought up previously when she talked to Danny in episode 7 about no matter what, everything fades. She's like, money, relationships, it doesn't matter. So you just kind of enjoy life, grabbing whatever you can. So that just shows you that, I mean, I guess it's clear when you look at the collection that Jordan has. It's not about like, ooh, appreciating anything. It's like, it's just about things. She's trying to fill the void. Like, you know, it's like, hey, I got this nice thing. Well, the feeling faded. Let me get another nice thing. And the sad thing is, Naomi falls in that category. It's like, oh yeah, this is something nice. But it's like, oh yeah, my brother had this, so I want to take it. Because like, oh, my brother's potentially happy. I want the happiness. And Naomi wanted to be closer to Jordan regardless. So like, she's once again trying to fill something, some void in herself. But yeah. I even love that line from Jordan when she talk about Naomi. It's like, yeah, she's very like protective, or like she always stays close. She's like, is that a cultural thing? And then Amy's just kind of like, no, Jordan, it's not a cultural thing. It's just a Naomi thing, because she's kind of obsessed with you. But yeah. Amy's like, okay, I'm at Jordan's place. You know who she is? It's like, oh yeah, like she's hot. She's got all this stuff. You steal some stuff here. You could get like a meal. Just bring my daughter, put her in my car, and you could come in here, rob the place, yada yada, do whatever you need to. He's on his way to address. Him, Bobby, and Michael have Paul and Danny in the back seat, and June's in the far back. But she thinks this is all fun. She's having so much fun. Amy ends up calling up George, telling George not to get the police involved. And saying like, it's not Danny. Someone else has, because she didn't know it was Isaac until she met him. But it's like, at first she's like, all right, it's someone unrelated. And I think that is a key point to keep in mind with everything later on. I'll get ahead and talk about it. I think the reason why George bailed the way he did is because the moment he heard like, it's Danny and Paul are the ones behind this, that's when he hung up. Because for him, it's like, it's your BS that got our door. Once again, you're dragging, I mean, even though Isaac is the one behind this is still connected to Danny and Amy's stuff, because this all spiraled out from there. Once again, like using the title of the last episode, drama of original choice. Like, and that one choice can lead to a million different choices and paths in life, and that's kind of led to them making the choices and decisions they've made now over the course of this series that have sent them spiraling down this pathway to mutual self-destruction, it seems, especially if anything's indicated by the ending of this episode, but we'll get to that soon enough. So now it is a situation of, but initially, George is like, okay, I'll come over, get June. And it's like, it's going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine. She says, I love you. He takes a beat, but he says, I love you too. So I'm like, oh, so maybe there is some future here. But once again, because of the later conversation, I think that's that's completely, that's definitely no go with how things spiral out from there. But, I love that Isaac and Michael are the ones robbing Jordan, but then you have Bobby, Paul, and Danny trying to like keep June entertained, and then like Paul ends up choking her out, and Danny has to like keep her eyes closed and keep singing the song so she doesn't realize what's happening. It's like, oh, Bobby passed out. Like, oh yeah, he's super tired. Let's go. And it was actually this really sweet moment. It's like, once again, it's like Danny didn't mean for things to play out this way, but nobody planned. Like, Amy didn't mean for things to spiral out this way. Neither did Danny. It's just like both of their rage and their issues and their pettiness escalated more and more. And it just caused this massive ripple effect across both of their lives. And so, but that moment, Danny's like, hey, you stay in here. You're going to be okay by yourself. She's like, I'm not alone. I've got Luca with me. I'm like, that little girl is so adorable. I'm like, oh, that's so heartwarming. Obviously, Isaac's getting impatient and stuff like that. And I love, like, well, initially Jordan's like, oh, we could head to the panic room. But like, yeah, Amy be like, no, let's just let them rob us and be done with this. And we can all move on. It'll be fine. Don't want anyone to get hurt. Because I was scared that George was going to show up with the gun and pop off. I thought that might have been like a potential thing. I was kind of worried. I'm like, dude, there's so many guns in play here, because Danny ended up taking one off of Bobby. But then they get caught by Michael, but they put it down in a Hummer seat. And I was like, what's that going to be? That could still symbolize some stuff later on with the way the episode ends. But like, he left the gun in in the passenger seat. I'm like, where is this all gonna go? Because I was worried, like, it's like, right, the cops are on their way, so I thought, like, right, you having a gun in your vehicle is probably not the best thing. Like, cops could get a little itchy trigger finger, and like you might not mean for, things could go super sideways in that regard. But then Michael caught them and brought them inside. And now in Amy's mind, it's like, okay, she's like making sure June's okay, but then she's looking at Danny and even says later on to Isaac, I know this is all Danny's fault. Like, he's here, he's involved. Like, obviously this situation spiraled way out of control. And I don't know whether, Amy was saying all that just to placate Isaac, to make him less scared, because it's like, if he gets caught by the cops, he's going to go away for a long time. And so she was trying to placate him, but I do believe on some level she's like, no, this is Danny's fault. You did kidnap my daughter, and now like this whole thing got hijacked from you. But it's like, no, once again, it's a complete and utter misunderstanding. She kind of got in the back of the seat, but it's like, why didn't you just stop and drop her off somewhere? It's like, well, because Paul had asked that. He's like, because I don't want, if something happened to her, that would be on me. And besides, like, I couldn't really just sit back and wait because the cops were there. I knocked George out. Like, everything that could go wrong went wrong. So I didn't know how to like mediate the situation. It's just terrible things happen and people making terrible decisions in response to those terrible things happening. And that's just been the antithesis of the show. And so I even love Jordan being like, because like obviously you see her like touching Amy's hands and stuff. Because I kind of was getting that vibe like, is Jordan trying to go after Amy now? It kind of felt like that, where she was almost like, ignore George or whatever. It's like, grab whatever you want. I was like, I almost have expected her to kiss Amy in that moment and then Naomi to walk in or something. I thought that, I kind of got those vibes earlier, but I don't know whether like Jordan was trying to hand Amy something and Naomi was looking, and it's like, I don't know whether that's like she's like, hey, I'll hold my hand, it's all going to be okay, or whether it was like I'm handing you something. I don't know. But Jordan's like, all right, fine. You want Naomi, fine, you can have her or whatever. Because she's thinking like, oh, my brother set you up on this. If my brother wants Naomi back that bad, she can have her. Naomi's almost like, what the fuck, Jordan? It's like, you went through the trouble of stealing her from your brother. Now it's like, now Naomi knows how important she is to you, where it's like, you've always been very dismissive of her, even when you were in-laws. And even as her fiance, it's like, it's cute and fine and everything, but once again, like everything, it fades, and her fascination and interest in you kind of faded. Once again, you were just kind of another thing for her to collect. I even love Isaac being like, why are you guys hanging around her? You guys are Asian, you know that? Because he's got this thing, to be fair, he made it clear, like, where he's just kind of not, no, that's Danny, but I'm sure that, because Danny and Isaac had that conversation earlier in the season about specifically white people, but more so than anything, white women. And Danny made the whole point about like he's more so in the Italians because of the whole peninsula thing, Koreans and Italians. Might have just specifically Koreans and Italians. But anyway, so it's a little bit of that conversation coming back in this regard. So while they were busy with the whole locking Danny and Paul up and dealing with Amy, Michael goes after Jordan and Naomi, who run. They go to the safe room, and Naomi got ahead. I was like, oh boy. Michael was pretty slick with it. He took the chair and threw it, and that slowed Jordan down. He was about to catch up. He's like, I'm going to break your legs. Naomi got to the safe room first, panicked, and tried to close it, and she did, and we heard a crunch. I was like, no way. No way. Jordan, like, half her body is in the doorway, and it keeps closing on her over and over again. It's like obstruction. I was like, no way is this happening. And you see her die, you're like, no way did this just happen. And then the door closes all the way, completely severing her. Michael throws up because that went super sideways. That, I was like, holy shit. I mean, the effed up thing is, obviously it devastated Naomi because she had to spend time in there with half of Jordan's body. There's that. 2, this was your fiance. 3, you had your complicated feelings about her because you did love her. You were obsessed with her. You just wanted to be close with her, and you kind of knew how she felt about you at the end. So there's a whole amalgamation of complicated feelings there. Danny ends up helping Paul get over the wall, and Paul's like, no, I got this. And I think that's very symbolic of, hey, Danny's always done what he could to hold his brother back, and in this moment, his brother's kind of excelling on his own. It's like, no, I got this. All right, you're going to help me? Sure. I mean, there's a little bit of the whole, I got your back, bro thing, but it's like, hey, I'm the one who did it. You're the one that can't get up to me. But then Danny's like, just go. Like, the fact is, this is on me. I'm the one that stole the money from Isaac. I set all this in motion. The fact is, I'm burned down the house because of the wrong wiring I put in. This is all my fault. He's like, no, you're always there when I F up, because that was his thing to Danny beforehand. It's like, no, because he's like, you're not mad at me? He's like, nah, man, why would I be? Like, you always forgive me when I screw up. And for him, it's like, I threw away your college applications. He's like, what? Why'd you do it? He's like, I wanted us to be the same. You need to go. You need to get away from me, as far away from me as possible, because he's like, I'm dragging you down, and that's all I've ever done in my life is hold you back. So go, Paul. But Paul's on the other side of the wall. The police tell him to freeze, and he gets shot. We hear shots pop off, and Danny calls out to Paul, and we don't hear anything. So you're like, is Paul dead? And later on, Danny tries to call him, but no go. So it turns into a shootout once the police get in there. Because Amy was trying to say, like, right, you go to prison for this, Isaac, you'll be out in 5 years, and then you'll be able to start your life fresh. Michael ends up getting killed. Isaac ends up getting arrested. Amy finds out about George got June and left. Then she's looking through her phone. His lawyer had sent some files. Like, he immediately had that file. Maybe he had already been sitting on it for a while, but now he was like, now's the time to send it. He probably or he either had his lawyer quickly draft that up. Either way. It might even not even just been 100% a lawyer thing. It might have just been like a child protective thing, regardless of like, you put our child in danger, so I need something filed against you. So both of their worlds completely fell apart. Any attempt to get her family back is now down the toilet in her regard. Jordan's dead. This whole thing turned into a massive debacle. Danny didn't want things to turn out this way. Like, he technically kidnapped her daughter. He managed to get out on his own, because if the cops had gotten him, Amy would have been like, this is his fault. So he got away. But yeah. Oh, also Bobby got arrested too. It's like, geez, dude, this whole thing was a complete and utter shit show. Danny hotwired the Hummer he's taking off with it, but then Amy sees him. They end up driving right by each other. She's chasing after him, so we're going full circle with the road rage thing, except they're in opposite positions now, and she's trying to call the cops about him, but the signal disappears, so she just chases after him, and then like they're heading a certain place, and I think Danny looks at her, because it almost felt like Danny felt like he almost gave up. He was just kind of like, gave her the middle finger. I don't know whether he knew a cliff was coming, but like when the cliff does come up, because they were supposed to turn because it's dark, they couldn't see. It almost seemed like he was going to go that way anyway, like he wanted to die because he had nothing to live for, because he had kind of failed. Which, I mean, it's also coming full circle, because we know Danny was trying to unalive himself early on, and now he has extra reason not to live, because he probably thinks, no, my bro is dead, and it's because of me. Amy's like, I lost my family. It's because of Amy. Amy, it's like, it's because of Danny, but it's also because of me. Danny's like, it's because of Amy, but it's also because of me. It's just like, it's a lot of self-hatred in that regard. Once again, they mutually kind of destroyed each other. And I mean, and who's arguably, you could say they were their own destruction. And I made this metaphor previously in episode 7, where you kept seeing the dirt. Once again, the whole thing about getting revenge, dig a grave for that person you're trying to kill, but also, because when you get revenge, you're digging a grave not only for that person, but for yourself. So always dig 2 graves. And it seems applicable in this regard when both of their cars go off the edge, and it's like, that's the end of the episode. So where does this all take us going forward? Are we going to find out Danny and Amy died last episode? I have not seen a lick of the season finale or series finale, so speculating. Is it going to be a thing of, oh, this is what our lives would have been like if we had handled things differently? But it's like, this is the what if episode, but it all ends with the whole, nope, they did die, and what the aftermath of all the damage they caused and their respective families, like, deal with the aftermath of all of that. Maybe not. Who knows? Like, who knows if anyone's going to be able to find them? I mean, maybe someone will cross that road and find their vehicles down there. Maybe it'll lead to them trying to kill each other. Who knows how this will all play? I don't know what to fully expect from this next episode, but it's definitely going to be wild to see ultimately how all of this comes to an end. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good